Another segment with political analyst Scott Hughes. Yes,
Scott, I got to ask you, less handicap. On our forum, who was the best performer? I say performer. Who came off the best?
Interesting use of the term.
In your performance, in your forum on Tuesday on KEEL, I would probably say that I think in your forum, probably Steven Jackson and Ollie Tyler came across. Again, there wasn't a whole lot of anything. I mean,
Sure.
you've acknowledged that. There weren't any fireworks or anything. And I think Jackson continues to come off as solid. He comes off as, but again, if there's not a lot of challenge, the two people that know government the best often come across the best because they know the departments. They know how government's set up. And I think if there's no problem, Tyler and Jackson are going to emerge as the people that understand what's going on.
The worst performer. I know it's hard to do. But.
It's hard. I mean, the worst would be hard to do. I think that Savage is struggling in public settings. He's struggling when he sits side by side with everybody else. He's very likable when you meet him on the street. When you see his social media, he's very likable. He's working hard. But when he sits next to his competitors, and then you're comparing him answer to answer, and he doesn't seem to do as well as they're doing.
Mm-hmm. If you were to advise him, what would you tell him? What would you tell him to do?
Well, I mentioned I like Jackson and Tyler's answers because they appear to be competent. I think he needs to do more homework. I think he needs to understand. He just can't give generalities. I think he's got to get very specific about some of the things that he was doing. You can tell that Adrian Perkins has done some homework. Mm-hmm. He's young. He doesn't know. He hadn't lived here, but he has done some homework and understands, particularly in the areas of economic development and crime. Mm-hmm. He's out for solutions. I think Talaferro stays a lot in the crime category, which is his strength, and he knows the police department. He knows the crime. He's going to have to expand out as well. But specifically with Leo, I think he needs to get more specific in some of the things he's throwing out.
You told us a month ago or so, you said the people the candidates who are going to get in the runoff will be the ones who attack the mayor the best. I think that was kind of your verbiage, something like that. It doesn't seem to be that they've started that yet.
Well, we still have 3 months. It's
Right.
a long way to go, and that's a paraphrase, I think, of what we said that day.
Yeah.
The concept I was talking about is she's the incumbent, and so when you have we have 5 major candidates, and so my dad said never do math, in public, but let's do math. If each of the 5 candidates gets 20%, which is a low voter count, that's 100 points. 5 times 20 is 100. So 20 is the magic number. If you start to get above 20%, you may make the runoff. And so when you see an incumbent, even though she may not be highly popular, or social media may be against her, she's a competent manager. She's some of those things we talked about earlier. She can claim crimes down. It's down on paper. And so it's often hard to say the mayor, what does she start at? I don't think she starts at 1% or 5% like your KEEL poll shows her. She's
Right.
probably up around 30% that will vote for her today because it's a proven entity. So when I talk about attacking the mayor, what I talk about is you've got to show the public why they shouldn't vote for her. And it's one thing to say, oh, she's not popular, but everybody runs against somebody. And so these other 4 candidates have to demonstrate why I should not vote for the current mayor and for you. And so when I say attack the mayor, that's what I'm talking about. They've got to step up and say, why do I earn your vote? And I think as they do that, they will peel votes away from Ms. Tyler, and it will come more down to that 20% across the board. And this could be an election night where first place is 27%, 25%.
That to me seems like a lot. Pardon me.
Well, and and then the second place could be 22%, and then we could have a bunch of people right around 19, 18, 17%. There could be a couple hundred votes separating who makes the runoff and who doesn't in this race.
Wow.
When you do the math.
Has she done anything? When you talk about an incumbent mayor of the 3rd largest city, you usually would say if she's in trouble, which we're all acknowledging she's probably could be in some trouble. What is it that she has done so wrong that people are so negative about her?
Pardon me. That's an interesting question. Let me sort of piggyback this. What Erin just asked, the perception is that things aren't going well. The perception is that she might be struggling a little bit. But taken on what you just said, she could win easy.
She could win easy. She could not make the runoff. It's a complete unknown given the math. To answer your question, and Robert, you hit this, it is perception. Reality is not necessarily in play today. I mean, look at the last presidential election. I was one that said Trump could win early on. He won because I perceived he could win. People didn't understand the race. Back up to Kathleen Blanco when she was governor of Louisiana. The hurricane hits. You know, it didn't matter what the reality was of what was going on in New Orleans, what the reality was of how hard it was to take a major U.S. city from flooding and get it back to, to functionality. The perception was Blanco was aloof and wasn't connected, and it cost her the ballot box. And so you come home to Shreveport, and it doesn't matter what the reality seems to be. Crime is down on paper. I mean, if anyone looks at the stats, if you believe the statistics, it's down. If you believe the people in Shreveport, it doesn't matter, black, white, rich, poor neighborhood right now, shootout on Line Avenue while I was gone at the Circle K. The perception is crime is high. I was in Chicago. You mentioned I was on the road.
Sure.
I was in Chicago this weekend when 60 people got shot and 13 people died. And in Chicago, we didn't even know what was going on. Life was good. They had a concert downtown with 30,000 people. The boats were running on the rivers. Chicago was going on as normal despite this record shooting taking place. Here in Shreveport, crime is technically down, and all we're focused on in social media is the crime. And so that's going to be tagged on the mayor. We haven't seen the big job entity come around. And so I think at the end of the day, what she's guilty of is she's guilty of the people's perception of what's going on.